What's going on, GameDad fam? I'm Josh, the GameDad, and this is Fire Emblem. As in the original, Fire Emblem, Dark Dragon, and the Sword of Light. Why am I playing this? Well, this game is... Fire Emblem in general is one of my all-time favorite series. When the original game came to America, which was technically Fire Emblem 7, I fell in love. I played it so much. I loved everything about it. And I played all the games since, and, I started investigating about the series, having played that one, and found out about all the other ones that were in Japan, the first 6 titles of the series, and have since played all of those at some point or another, from beginning to end, in completion. I played every single game in the series from beginning to end. I love them all. They're so much fun. And this Friday, Fire Emblem 3 Houses is coming out. So, I decided that I'm going to make this week a Fire Emblem week. So today, Wednesday, and Friday, they're all going to be Fire Emblem-focused uploads. And I'm going to do 3 different games that have never come to America. Well, the originals didn't come to America, I should say. I'll explain more as time goes on. But they didn't come to America to show you how the series progressed before it got to us. And then on Friday, I'm going to be streaming Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I'm going to do a 6-hour stream Friday. I'm going to do it again on Sunday. I am so hyped for this. I decided to set aside a week for it. So, you may notice that by my super excited face underneath. Next to him is... Well, I'll get to that. So the whole thing about the original was... This is the game Marth came from. Marth is the first Fire Emblem hero. This was on the NES. Came out in 1990. And it was just... It was a big deal in Japan. This is Marth, who also looks like... I need to figure out my finger... There we go. This... Right in this area. Somewhere around there. That's what Marth looked like in the instruction manual. The glow-up to Smash Brothers is real, y'all. He ain't even had pants before. So. The original game had some crudeness around the edges. But it was still a phenomenal game, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, give you a little... Let me pretend like you've never played a Fire Emblem game before and use this as an example to understand things. Fire Emblem is a tactical RPG. Turn-based tactical RPG. You take turns moving all of your units. As your units fight, they gain experience, they level up. They all have individual stats. Their classes determine different things about them, so on and so forth. You're trying to defeat all the enemies or complete an objective. You move on after you beat the map, so on and so forth. Fairly simple stuff. But the game is just so rich in the stories, the characters themselves, and then the complexity of all the tactics via all the different classes. Even when things are similar, they're very different. This game, things were the most similar they were, and there's still differences. So you've got Marth as the main character. He's a lord. He generally is going to be nothing super fantastic statistically. Lords almost never are, but they always have something that sets them apart. So, like Marth has a rapier, which gives them a high critical hit chance. And lords will usually get early on some type of weapon that's about as powerful as other weapons, but it either criticals more commonly, which deals triple damage, or it's like super effective against units with heavy armor, or on horseback, or whatever it may be. Then you've got Sheeta, his girlfriend, more or less. She's a Pegasus Knight. Pegasus Knights usually are very, very fast, not the strongest, but they can become strong. But their advantage is they're pretty mobile, but they can go over trees, they can go over water, doesn't matter. Gordon, the archer, he's an archer. He shoots from 2 squares away, but he can't do anything when an enemy engages him face to face. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Doga, the armor knight, who is just a big beefy boy. You see, 11 defense is nastiness. To give you a frame of reference, Marth has 7 defense. Gordon has 6 defense. 11 is big. To give you an idea, the average enemy, like a pirate here, has 5 power. Plus the power of his axe, but they're just gonna scratch him if they even deal damage. So he's slow, however, with only 5 movement, but if you get him into battle, he's gonna survive. Then you've got the 2 social knights, Cain, and Abel. Religious references aside, you've got each of them. They have very high movement, but they suck going over forests. It's difficult for them. It takes them like 3 points of movement to get over a forest. But they have high movement. They have good balanced stats. They can use spears or swords. Social knights are what they were called in the original translation. They're commonly known as cavaliers. And then you have Jagan. The original translation was technically given as Jigan, but it's now called Jagan. If you play Fire Emblem Heroes, you can see it there. And Jagan, he has better stats than anyone else. The only thing he's not better than immediately is his luck's a little bit low, and his defense is 2 points less than Doga. But he's better than everyone else across the board statistically, and he's got a silver lance, so he is buff as heck. This game sets several standards for the series, such as the Lord being kind of balanced but not exceptional, such as having 2 Cavaliers that are red and green, and then red. And generally, the red one is very strong but a little slower, and the green one is a lot faster but a little weaker. They've tweaked that at times, but generally you will always find a red and green Cavalier in the games. And then starting out with a unit that Fire Emblem fanatics like myself will commonly call the Jagan of the game, which is a overpowered, promoted unit you start out with, but their growth rate is very bad, so they get less experience per kill. They don't get a lot, if any, stats. Like Jagan, you'll be lucky to see him ever get stats on level up. So this is about as strong as he ever gets. So he's helpful now in an emergency, but you don't ever want to rely on him for that reason. You know, in recent games, in Fire Emblem Fates, you had Gunther. In Fire Emblem Awakening, you had Frederick, etc., etc. So you just click a character and then start moving. The cursor will go as far as their movement range allows and no further in this original game. You move in. I'm going to fight the thief with Sheeta first, using her iron sword. And this is what combat originally looked at. It's come up a lot, to say the least. But thieves are not inherently dangerous. Like, in this game, their stats aren't great, but they're units who will come into towns and destroy them. So you don't want that. Abel here will go ahead and show this. Actually, I will come here. Abel is holding a javelin, which lets him attack at range 2. So, he's a little less accurate, but... Dang it. But it was worth the shot. Didn't work out, but... I am going to just move... that was Cain. I'm just going to move Cain forward. So, and that's how turn progresses. You can interact with people and things. So, I'm going to visit this town. And Prince Moth, good to see you. The villagers gathered 10,000 gold. Jeez. You can spend it. There's a shop right there. I'm not going to. I'm not going to make this a full-on playthrough series. By any means. Whatsoever. I'm just kind of showing you guys. This week, it's going to be 3 one-offs of 3 different games on a series that is very, very near and dear to my heart, that I've gotten so much enjoyment out of. I just kind of want to celebrate it with the new game coming out. And then, you know, that's it. So, like I said, I want to show how the series progressed. So this game, being the first game, there's actually been 3 versions of this game. So this one was the first one on NES. The second one was also on NES, and it very much so followed the NES idea of... Yeah, see, he can only deal 1 damage to Doga, because Doga's just so tough. So even if he's not super fast, if you get him in combat, he's gonna beat people up. Like, it takes a lot to take him down, so he's still handy. Armor Knights tend to waffle in usefulness, depending on a couple factors. But some games, they're amazing. Some games, they're a thing. I will be showing you both versions of that during this playthrough, because Doga in this one is pretty darn good. The maps are just kind of a perfect size, and he tends to start out in areas that benefit having him. Oh, I see. Meanwhile, boom. I am going to... How far can he move? That far. Gotcha. Alright. Gordon! We're gonna have him use his steel bow for a little extra kick. But steel bows have less hit chance. But archers already tend to have good accuracy. They tend to have high skill stats. So I wasn't too concerned about it. So yeah. So this game was first. The second game very much so followed the NES formula of Game 1 was something, and we're going to do a whole lot different with Game 2, like Mario 2, like Zelda 2. Game 2 introduced, like, world map movement. It introduced random battles you could get into. It had a magic system that involved, I'm blanking on the word. It had a magic system that involved, like, sacrificing HP to cast spells. It was very different. Not necessarily well received. So, when they went to make the third one for the Super Nintendo, they're like, okay, people had some issues with how we made the first game, so how do we do better? And what they decided was they were going to remake this game in the Super Nintendo engine, but that to justify, they weren't just going to re-release it. So what they did, Kane hits hard. His problem is just whether or not he's going to hit twice. But if you get his speed up enough, just a couple levels to hit twice, you can see immediately where he's gonna hit people hard. So anyways, the point is, they decided they're going to take this one. They remade it in the Super Nintendo, updated some things about it. In that one, cavaliers could actually get off of their horse to use swords, or they could be on their horse to use spears. There was a whole bunch of different factors to that. But what they also decided, however, was, okay, so pirates have moved 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me move him here. I just want him nearby in case someone gets low health. That's about it. Okay. So what they decided is they actually made it only half the game. So this is book 1, and then you have book 2, which is a whole sequel to this game that's as long as this one was, focusing on the events that take place after the storyline of this game. So you could see, Gordon, you do not want him on your front lines. It's dangerous because he's a sitting duck. He can't fight back. And that's how archers kind of are in general. Though I believe in Fire Emblem Three Houses, archers will get a skill specifically to allow them to get into, like, if an enemy attacks them in melee, they can counter. So, if so, I will be a happy boy. Because I like archers. They're a fun class to play around with. They just, people don't play around with them a lot. What's his health at? This game is rough around the edges. I can't see, for instance, the stats of weapons I get without having the instruction manual or things like that. But, bowgun. But they did it's pretty great how they have all these different animation. Like, the bowgun had a different animation from the steel bow. Things like that. Like, for an NES game, well, technically a Famicom game, but you get what I mean. They put some effort into this. So they remade this game as Game 3, and then it finally actually did come to America for the DS. It was the 11th game in the series, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon for the DS, which was a complete remake of Fire Emblem 1 in the DS engine. I enjoyed it, but it was not perfect by any means. I'll just be honest about that. But it was a good game. Stab! With my Giganto Lance. Yeah. And then from there, speed 6. And the pirate is speed 6. Okay. Let's have her. Let me not get ahead of myself. Kane. I'm just kind of mincing around. I've beaten this game more than the 3 times of having played each once. See? I would have been caught flat-footed with an archer near a Pegasus Knight, and that's one of the specialties. Archers deal super effective damage to Pegasus Knights. Though, off the top of my head, I can't remember if that was present in this version, but I think it already was. So, then, where they really started flexing their muscles was in the fourth game of the series, Fire Emblem. It's Seisen no Kifu. I probably butchered that, but it's Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, which has two full... It literally only had 12 levels, but each level was akin to 2 or 3 levels in a normal game. Like, they were these massive maps with like, you would complete an objective and then move on to another objective, and it was a whole thing, so it worked out. But the first half of the game followed one set of characters. It was Prince Sigurd of Shalpi, and then the second half of the game followed his son. So that's actually where they originated the idea of, like, the character romances and having characters have children and things like that. They came from there. And the idea of, intermingling stats and all, it's a rich history, shall we say. And then the next one I'm going to play on Wednesday is going to be the next Super Nintendo game, number 5, Thracia 776, often considered one of, if not the hardest game in the series, at least certainly the hardest of the pre-American era. You could start getting into, like, the hard 5-star hard version of Shadow Dragon and this, that, or the other, but it's up there, if not necessarily the toughest. Have these guys form me a nice little barrier. And Gordon's gonna come down here. And I'll wait for those 3 to run up. Runneth up! So, and then you have, like I said, you get, okay, cool. So, Thracia 776 is one of the hardest, but I want to show off a Super Nintendo era game, and I feel like, as a result, that one's a good one to show because of the difficulty. Fire Emblem is a series known for being tough. And then, on Friday, I'm going to show the last game that didn't come to America, which is Fire Emblem Sword of Seals, which is the one that had Roy. So, pretty identifiable character. Makes it easy to show. Which was a prequel to the first one, or the sequel. Like, let me rephrase. First one that came to America, Fire Emblem, was Fire Emblem: The Blazing Blade. That was a prequel to the one with Roy, if you've never played it. So, but I just love this series so much, man. It's so much fun for me. I love the difficulty. I love the characters. I love the stories. I love the games, man. I do. I just do. There ain't no other way to put it. I love me some Fire Emblem. Not so much when they dodge. I love it a little bit less when they dodge. But, yeah, so I figured there's a good chance to kind of explain a series that's near and dear to my heart, and also to just enjoy it. Bam! You did! Is Abel going to level up here? Nice! Gained 1 power, gained 1 luck, gained 1 defense. No speed. But, yeah. So, and then they just try and get better. Certain stats hold a bit more weight than others. Like, you're always going to be happier to see, say, 1 point of speed than you will to see, in later games, get 1 point of skill. Speed is going to primarily be the decider on whether or not you hit an enemy twice or once, whereas skill is just going to be like a 2% difference in your chance to hit someone. Dab. Actually, it's more of an uppercut swing. And so, the thing about this game, one of the main things that people love is as you level up, you get better and better, and then eventually you can actually change into a new version of your class. Now, that was somewhat limited in this game, but it still definitely happened. So, for instance, social knights become paladins. In this original version, armor knights don't become anything, but in the later versions they can become generals. Pegasus Knights become Dragon Knights, which is... sure. If that's how you want to do it. And so on and so forth. But a lot of, like I said, a lot of things were established with this game. And it's the first game. I feel like it deserves showing off. So this is where the limited movement of an Armor Knight comes into play. Because now, while he's been helpful all this time, now, if I want him to be in combat, I will have to waste a whole extra turn just to catch him up. Not even to, like, move him past my other guys. So... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... okay, so I will actually have Marth wait right here. And have Sheeta be there. And Jagan next one. Now, this game did not really have supports in the common sense, which is something they have in the new games, but mentally I like to play like it does. Now, you'll notice I ran up on the fort to fight him. I still got hit, so meh. But the reason why is because different terrains have different negatives and positives. So, for instance, it's hard to traverse hilly terrain or forests, or even impossible to traverse mountains or water unless you're one of specific classes. Or a Pegasus Knight. They just don't care about nothing. But you also get increased dodge chance being on some of these. And in later games, you know, being on, say, a village will actually heal you a little bit every turn. So, see, Marth actually is back up to full health because I'm on top of that fort. So, it's not like there's no reason. I'll have Kane take this dude on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we'll be one space outside of combat range. Okay. Crikey! So, there is something charming about this. Like, if this came to America, I would have played the mess out of this as a child. And the music does change as you eliminate a certain amount of enemies. You know, to kind of show the progression of getting through the map. So, we are in the home stretch. Now, you'll see there's a village here. I'm certainly going to be saving it. But... yeah, this guy wants to run in headlong. He is full well allowed to. I don't know that it's his wisest choice he's ever made, but, you know. Do you, fam. Do you. I was hoping to maybe see a critical hit. At least once. Ugh. But it looks like no such dice. Okay. And we got a bow gun. Notice all the others moved, the one on the castle didn't. Generally, that's also kind of a staple thing. Bosses will sit on a fort or a throne or whatever it may be, and they'll say, come at me, bro, and they'll wait for you. They're going to be harder to hit. They're going to be a little bit tougher. Is what it is. Now, one thing I'm doing here that I would not do on a normal playthrough is I'm using everyone. By which I mean, with Fire Emblem, it's generally understood you are going to use 10 to, depending on the game, 10 to 12 characters. That's going to be your core squad, and then everyone else. So... you know, if I'm playing this for real, I would pick out who I'm gonna like. I wouldn't use Gordon, for instance, or off the top of my head, most likely. I might, but not likely. He's a subpar character. I mean, I don't even have an issue with Gordon. I just not the biggest fan. So, I might use Doga. I might not. I might use only one up, and then if you get a couple levels like that, then you'll say, screw it, I'm good. Sheeta has 62 experience. Kane has 70 experience. So he's more likely to actually get a level. I don't think he'll even get a level, but he's at least a little bit more likely to. So I'll let him try and get the kill, see if he will. But yeah, if this came to America when I was a kid, I mean, I would have... You couldn't have stopped me playing this game all day. I would have been in my room playing this all the time. It's just a good old-fashioned good time, guys. Like, there ain't nothing more to it. And it just makes you flex your brain muscles trying to... Because one thing, which I haven't really gotten into because I haven't needed to, is the series hallmark, which is death is permanent. When a character dies, they don't come back. Now, in more recent games, starting with Awakening on the 3DS, they added a casual mode. And in casual mode, when a character dies, they do come back. But the classic setting, up until that point, character dies, they're dead. No bringing them back. Outside of a few exceptions. There are some games that have, like, a staff that will, for instance, revive characters. But that's it. And it'll have, like, 1 to 3 uses. So you don't want that to be your crutch. Ah, shoot. So he'll have to hit the boss to level up. But first we're going to have Marth step right over here and visit, and we're going to get Riff. Riss is his actual name. But the first healer who joins you in this game. He is a cleric, and he just comes up and he's like, yo, what's good? Okay, so who needs healing? Marth does. Okay. And Riff's just like, yo, heal ya. Now, what's funny is when they remade this game on the Super Nintendo, they actually got rid of Riss entirely. He was just removed from the game. Don't know why. Just was. So, it's just funny to me to get him as a result when they were like, well, we don't need him. He's another healer. Who cares? Okay. Iron sword, stabbity stab stab. Okay, so this guy, Gazak, he has a steel axe. Oh, God in heaven. So, apparently, whoever's in his range is in potential death range. So, I'm going to want to try and kill him this turn. 1 power, 1 speed, 1 luck, 1 defense. That was a great level up. That defense is important because it actually now puts him just outside of kill range if Gazak counters. Gazak, however, has 12 HP. So what I'll want to do is... Okay. Gordon can't reach him, right? Nope. Okay. He has 8... He took 9 damage. She has 7 defense. So she'll take 9 damage, right? Yep. So she'll just barely survive. I'll fly her up here and let her attack. Should get him right in kill range, and then I'll try and see if Marth can finish him off. And if not, Jagan can finish him off. But she should just barely survive. It's a little bit harder to do the math. In later games, they did make the doing the math part of things a lot easier, which is good. As far as that second game I mentioned, by the way, how it did so many things differently, like, you know, the magic and whatnot, that actually did get remade and also came to America. That one was Fire Emblem Echoes for the 3DS. I wanted Marth to get the kill. Okay. Or that. But unfortunately, we gotta go with what's reliable, and what's reliable is Jigen and the Silver Lance. Oh, God, please. Please, please, God, please. Please get the stab. Oh, this would end like this. Well, you guys are about to see exactly what I was talking about. Maybe. And that's game. You must start from the beginning. That's probably the best way this could have ended, to be fair. Listen, I wasn't playing efficiently. If I was, I would have taken... Or not even less efficiently. I wasn't playing safely. If I was, I would have taken one more turn to get closer. Would have had Gordon bowgun him from a distance, and then, so that I could get some extra chip damage in. Would have marched Doga in, so... But I wasn't planning on continuing this. I just kind of wanted to show you guys the game. It is not as difficult as I made it, and later versions are easier as well. But, guys, thank you so much for watching. I am so excited for this week. I'm so excited for Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'm so excited for Fire Emblem in general. Like, I hope that comes across as being genuine, because it really is genuine. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Shout out below. Tell me if you've played Fire Emblem or not. Let me hear that today. Have you played Fire Emblem? And if so, which games? Are you someone who's only played the 3DS ones? Have you been playing them for a bit? Are you a fanatic like me? Let me know. Okay? And maybe say your favorite game. Alrighty? But other than that, I will catch you next time, GameDad fan. Alright.